The sky above Earth was quiet, too quiet for a planet that once burned with war. The cities still carried scars from old battles, towers half broken, streets covered with the dust of forgotten dreams. Humanity had survived the impossible, but survival had a price. Billions were gone, and the rest lived under the shadow of fear. They all waited for what would come next. And then it came, the message. High above the planet, in the cold silence of space, the Galactic Council sent its signal. A golden sphere of light appeared in every major city. When it opened, a tall alien figure appeared, its face calm, its voice smooth and sharp like metal. "Humans," it said, "the war is over. Lay down your weapons. Accept peace. The Council will guide you. You have fought enough." The message played again and again across every screen, every speaker, every sky. The people listened in silence. The Council expected surrender. To them, humanity was broken, weak, and small. They believed humans were ready to kneel, to live as servants under their rule. But deep beneath the ground, far below the ruined cities, the truth was different. Humanity had not surrendered. It had only gone quiet. In the hidden base known as the core, hundreds of humans worked day and night. Lights flickered across steel tunnels. The sound of engines and metal echoed like heartbeats. Here, in secret, humanity was rebuilding. Commander Rhea stood on a balcony, looking down at the workers below. Her eyes were cold but alive. She had seen too much death to ever kneel again. The message from the Council still played on the monitors around her, but she did not flinch. She watched it like someone watching an old enemy repeat the same lie. General Marcus entered the room behind her. His uniform was torn at the shoulder, and his hands were black with oil and dust. "They think we're done," he said quietly. Rhea nodded. "Let them think that. The quieter we look, the safer we are." Marcus looked at her, then at the ships being built in the deep tunnels below. "How much longer until we're ready?" She took a breath. "Not long. The first armada will rise soon. When it does, the heavens will burn." While the Council celebrated what they believed was victory, humans worked faster than ever. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors opened, revealing the skeletons of ships larger than any before. The secret project had a name whispered only among the engineers, Heaven's Forge. Here, the last of humanity's strength was shaped into metal and fire. Each ship was a promise that humanity would never kneel again. News reached Earth of Council fleets patrolling nearby systems. Their ships glowed like floating suns, untouchable and powerful. The media called it peacekeeping, but everyone knew it was control. People on Earth began to lose hope. They looked up at the sky and saw only silence. They did not know what their leaders were planning. They did not know that revenge was already being built in the shadows. Commander Rhea often walked alone through the half-built tunnels at night. She could feel the hum of power in the walls, the breath of something alive forming out of steel. Sometimes she would stop and look up at the holographic stars projected above the ceiling. Each point of light represented a council world, rich, proud, untouched by war. She whispered to herself, "You thought we would kneel. You never understood us." The council's message kept playing, but now it sounded weaker, like an echo fading away. People had stopped listening. Somewhere inside every human heart, a quiet fire had started to burn again. Farmers in ruined fields looked up at the sky and felt pride. Children drew pictures of spaceships in the dust. Soldiers trained in silence, waiting for orders that had not yet come. The world was tired, but not broken. In the orbital command station above the Earth, Rhea stood before a giant screen. A new signal flashed in red, encrypted, hidden, human. She entered her code and watched as the message appeared. It was from the engineers on the moon. "The first dreadnought is complete. Awaiting your orders." Rhea stared at the words for a long moment. Her heart beat faster. The first piece of vengeance was ready. She called Marcus. When he arrived, she showed him the message. His eyes widened. "It's time," he said. Rhea nodded. Together, they walked to the central console. Around them, the room fell silent as officers and technicians looked up, waiting. The commander placed her hand on the control pad. "Activate transmission," she ordered. A red light filled the chamber. Her voice was steady, cold, full of purpose. "To all hidden fleets, this is Commander Rhea. Operation Vengeance is now active. We do not surrender. We rise." The message sent ripples across secret channels all over the solar system. In asteroid bases, pilots stood to attention. In underwater hangars, ships began to power up. Engines glowed blue in the darkness. Humanity was awakening. Far away, the Galactic Council's listening stations picked up fragments of strange signals from Earth. Their analysts dismissed them as static. "The humans have no fleet," one officer said. "They barely have power." None of them imagined what was really coming. Back on Earth, Rhea stepped out onto the surface for the first time in months. The air was cold, filled with ash and the smell of old fire. She looked up at the stars. Somewhere beyond them sat the Council, waiting for her world to bow. But they would not bow. Not now, not ever. The sky looked calm, peaceful, but she knew that peace was only a mask. Behind it, a storm was growing. In the dark silence of night, she whispered, "They wait for our surrender. They will see our vengeance." The wind carried her words across the ruined plains, across the quiet seas, into the heart of every survivor who still believed. The war was not over. It was only beginning again, this time, not for survival, but for justice. And as the first human ship rose silently from the hidden base, engines burning blue, the stars seemed to tremble. The stars above Earth looked peaceful, but under that quiet light, humanity's greatest secret was growing. While the Galactic Council celebrated what they thought was victory, deep under oceans, inside hollow asteroids, and across the dark side of the moon, humans were building something that should not exist. They called it the Hidden Armada. Only a few knew its true name, Heaven's Forge. It began as a dream, born in the ashes of defeat. After the last war, when the Council forced peace upon Earth, engineers and soldiers refused to accept it. They worked in silence, hiding technology, data, and plans. Piece by piece, they built machines that the Council's sensors could not see. The moon became their greatest weapon, a silent forge in the dark. Commander Rhea watched from the observation deck of the lunar base as workers floated in zero gravity, welding the spine of another dreadnought. Sparks flashed like stars. The air inside the base buzzed with energy. Ships stretched for kilometers, long and dark, built to fight gods. Each carried names whispered like prayers: Dawnfire, Vengeance, Iron Sky, Silent Storm. These ships were more than metal, they were hope shaped into steel. General Marcus stood beside Rhea, his eyes fixed on the half-complete vessel before them. "They have no idea," he said quietly. Rhea nodded. "That's how it must stay. If they find out before we're ready, it's over." She walked forward, touching the glass that separated her from the vast emptiness beyond. "We can't fight them ship for ship. But we can strike where it hurts." Behind her, the hum of engines grew louder. Power cores were tested, shields activated, systems aligned. The first human fleet since the Great War was coming alive again. The crew members were not soldiers of old empires, they were survivors, engineers, and dreamers, each one carrying the weight of extinction on their shoulders. Some had lost their families during the Council invasion. Others had seen their cities burn. None of them would ever kneel again. Every day, shuttles carried supplies from Earth to the moon under the cover of night. Cargo marked as agricultural exports hid weapons, fuel, and components. Civilian transports delivered what appeared to be food, but inside, sealed in hidden compartments, lay the future of humanity's resistance. The Council's drones occasionally passed near the moon, scanning for unusual heat signatures. But human scientists had learned to hide their work. They used radiation dampeners and artificial shadows to trick alien sensors. To the Council, the moon looked dead and cold. They never imagined it hid an armada. In the shipyard's lower levels, a team of technicians worked on something new, a jump drive, small enough to fit inside a human warship, powerful enough to cross systems instantly. It was risky, unstable, and dangerous, but it was humanity's only chance to strike back before the Council could react. One mistake could destroy a ship, but if it worked, humanity would finally have a weapon the Council did not control. The lead scientist, Dr. Alara, stood in front of the humming core. "It's not ready," she warned Rhea. "If you push it now, it could tear a hole through space." Rhea looked at her calmly. "If we wait, the Council will tear a hole through us." Alara lowered her head and began the test. The core flared with white light, then stabilized. For a second, every instrument went dark. When the power returned, the ship's position had shifted 10 meters forward. It had worked. The room erupted in quiet cheers. Humanity had just changed the rules of war. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, people lived under the illusion of peace. News broadcasts spoke of recovery, rebuilding, and cooperation with the Council. The message of surrender still played in schools and government halls. But whispers spread among the people, rumors of secret bases, of ships hiding in the stars. No one knew the truth, but hope began to return. In the shadows of broken cities, old veterans trained young recruits in empty warehouses. The silent network of the resistance grew stronger each day. Back on the moon, Rhea stood inside the command room of the newly completed dreadnought, Dawnfire. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Screens flickered to life. The ship's AI spoke for the first time, its voice deep and calm. "Systems online. Awaiting command." Rhea smiled faintly. "Welcome to the war." The words echoed through the chamber, and everyone stopped to listen. They all knew history was being written at that moment. The first warship of the Hidden Armada had been born. In the distance, General Marcus received a transmission from Earth, encrypted and short. "Council patrols near Mars," the message read. "They are watching again." Marcus frowned. "They're getting closer." Rhea crossed her arms. "Then we move faster." For the next few weeks, the base worked without rest. Engines roared, reactors glowed, and human determination filled every corridor. They tested weapons, trained pilots, and mapped out routes for their first strike. The Council still believed Earth was broken. That belief was humanity's greatest weapon. But every secret has a shadow. In the corner of the lunar base, a single communication light blinked. Someone, somewhere, was listening. A low-level technician had been sending coded messages to an unknown receiver. He thought no one noticed, but the system's AI tracked every keystroke. Rhea discovered the leak 2 days later. The man was brought before her. "Who are you talking to?" she asked. He trembled. "They said they could help us. They promised freedom." "The Council," Rhea said coldly. The man lowered his head. "I'm sorry." "No," she said. "You're not." She ordered him removed. Betrayal was not new to humanity, but it hurt every time. The Council's reach was long, and Rhea knew it was only a matter of time before they found the truth. That night, she stood alone on the moon's surface, watching the Earth rise, a blue sphere shining softly in the black. "They think we're quiet because we're afraid," she whispered. "Let them think that a little longer." Below her, hangar doors opened silently. Dozens of ships floated into formation, engines humming like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. The Hidden Armada was ready for its first movement. In the distance, beyond the stars, the Galactic Council continued to watch and wait, blind to the storm that was coming. They waited for Earth to kneel. They did not know that the first sparks of vengeance had already been lit. The sky above the moon glowed faintly as humanity prepared to rise once more, and in that cold silence, the universe held its breath. The Galactic Council had started to feel uneasy. Reports from their border patrols spoke of strange movements near Earth's orbit. Energy signatures flickered and disappeared like ghosts. Some believed it was nothing more than human scrap satellites, others whispered about hidden activity. The Council could not take chances. They decided to send a spy, someone who could walk among humans unnoticed. His name was Kale. He was one of the shapeshifters, a rare species able to take human form perfectly. Cold, intelligent, and loyal to the Council, Kale was given a simple mission: find out what humanity was building and destroy it if possible. When Kale arrived on Earth, he chose to appear as a refugee from the outer colonies. He spoke their language, wore their clothes, and blended into the chaos of rebuilding cities. Earth was scarred but alive. People were slowly fixing what war had broken. There was laughter in the streets again, but beneath it all was something else, a quiet tension that Kale could feel. These humans were not at peace. They were waiting for something. He spent weeks moving between settlements, listening, watching, sending coded reports to the Council. His first messages said little. Earth remains quiet. Population recovering. No sign of organized military activity. But as time passed, his words began to change. Certain areas restricted. Communication signals blocked. Unusual energy detected under the surface. He had found something. The deeper he looked, the more secrets he uncovered. Near the ruins of the old city of Geneva, Kale followed a convoy of supply trucks. They moved only at night, never using main roads. He tracked them through the mountains until they disappeared into a hidden tunnel carved into rock. What he found beyond it shocked even him. Inside the tunnel stretched a vast underground complex, filled with glowing lights and the hum of engines. Hundreds of workers moved with purpose, assembling machines unlike anything he had seen before. It was a military operation, massive and secret. Humanity was not rebuilding for peace. They were preparing for war. Kale's instincts told him to send the message immediately, but something stopped him. He watched the humans work, their faces covered in sweat and dirt, yet their eyes burned with determination. There was no fear in them, only purpose. He remembered what the Council had said about humans, that they were chaotic, weak, and emotional. But what he saw here was different. They were broken yet unyielding. They had lost everything and still refused to bow. For the first time, Kale felt something strange: respect. He left the tunnel and activated his hidden transmitter. His voice was calm, but his heart was not. Council command, this is Agent Kale. The humans are hiding something large. Shipyards underground. Possibly a fleet. Requesting confirmation to proceed with elimination protocol. But before he could finish the transmission, a sudden pulse of static filled the air. The signal cut off. Kale looked around, confused. Then he heard footsteps behind him. A group of soldiers surrounded him, weapons raised. Their armor was marked with the insignia of the hidden armada. At their head was Commander Rhea. Her voice was steady and cold. "You've been watching us for a long time, haven't you?" Kale said nothing. Rhea walked closer. "Tell your council this, you can't spy on ghosts." She nodded to her men. They disarmed him and took him to the base. Inside the interrogation room, the lights were dim. Rhea stood across from Kale, studying him. "You're not human," she said. Kale smirked. "Neither are you. Not anymore." She ignored the insult. "Why did they send you here?" Kale stayed silent. Rhea leaned closer. "We know the Council is planning something. We intercepted fragments of their communication." "What is it?" He hesitated, then finally spoke. "You think you're ready for war, but they're already coming. A fleet has been ordered to move toward Earth. They plan to end this before it begins." Rhea's expression did not change, but inside her mind, alarms were ringing. "When?" she asked. "Soon," Kale said. 5 days, maybe less." Rhea turned away, thinking fast. "Then we have no time." She ordered Kale to be locked away and rushed to the command center. General Marcus was already there, analyzing the intercepted Council data. "He's telling the truth," Marcus said grimly. "We picked up massive energy signatures near the outer colonies. They're mobilizing." Rhea looked at the holographic map showing enemy fleet movements. "How many ships?" "Thousands," Marcus answered. Maybe more. The room went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The Council was bringing its full strength to crush humanity once and for all. Rhea took a deep breath. Then we strike first. Marcus looked at her sharply. We're not ready. We'll never be ready if we wait. The First Fleet is operational. It's time we show them we're not broken. Orders spread across the lunar base like wildfire. Engineers rushed to finish final calibrations. Pilots were called from rest. The ships of Heaven's forge began to power up. The darkness of space filled with light as engines ignited. One by one, massive vessels rose from the surface of the moon. The hidden armada was no longer hidden. In his cell, Cale watched the monitors showing the launch. For a long time, he said nothing. Finally, he whispered to himself, "They will destroy you all." But deep down, he wasn't sure anymore. There was something in the way humans fought, a kind of madness mixed with hope. They were small, fragile creatures, yet they moved like they belonged among the stars. Back in the command room, Rhea stood before the screen showing the enemy's approach. She felt fear, yes, but it was the kind that burned, not the kind that froze. "Let them come," she said quietly. "They waited for our surrender. They will see our vengeance." Far away, in the Council's grand chamber, a messenger knelt before the High Lords. "We have lost contact with Agent Cale," he said. The Council leader raised his head. His eyes glowed cold blue. "It does not matter," he said. "Send the fleet. End the human problem." The order was given, and across the void, thousands of alien ships began to move toward the little blue planet called Earth. In 5 days, the heavens would burn again. Humanity had awakened, and the universe was about to remember why it should have left them alone. The hidden base beneath the lunar surface was filled with tension. Every corridor echoed with the sound of footsteps, rushing voices, and the hum of machines preparing for war. The news of the Council's fleet moving toward Earth had spread like fire. Humanity had 5 days before the Armada reached their skies. Commander Rhea stood in the central chamber of the core, the command room of the hidden Armada. Around her, holographic displays floated in the air, showing enemy formations, estimated arrival times, and defense routes. Generals, scientists, and diplomats stood in silence, waiting for her to speak. She looked tired, her uniform dusty and her eyes dark with sleepless nights, but her voice was steady when she finally broke the silence. "We are out of time," she said. "The Council is coming with everything they have. If we wait for them here, we die. If we hide, we die slower. So we will not wait. We will not hide. We strike first." The room filled with whispers. Some were afraid, others angry, but no one disagreed. General Marcus stepped forward. "Our ships are not fully armed. Half of the new reactors still need testing." Rhea looked at him. "If we wait until we are ready, there will be nothing left to fight for." She turned to the group of scientists and engineers. "What about the jump drives?" Dr. Elara hesitated before answering. "They work, in theory. We've only tested them over small distances. A fleet jump could tear ships apart." "Then we jump small," Rhea replied. "We hit fast, hit hard, and vanish before they understand what happened." Marcus folded his arms. "And if we fail?" Rhea's expression didn't change. "Then we fail standing, not kneeling." The room fell silent again. Every person there understood what she meant. Humanity's time for fear had passed. It was time to fight. A holographic image of the solar system appeared in the center of the chamber. Blue lights marked Earth's defenses, and red lights represented the approaching Council fleet. Rhea pointed to one glowing red cluster. "Their supply lines run through this region. If we destroy these ships, they will slow down, maybe even fall into disarray." Marcus nodded slowly. "We could cripple their logistics, but that's still only a delay." "A delay is all we need," Rhea said. "Time to prepare Earth's defenses. Time for the rest of the fleet to awaken." She turned to her communications officer. Send word to every outpost and hidden station. Operation Vengeance begins now. Across the solar system, encrypted transmissions pulsed through the dark. In hidden asteroid bases, pilots scrambled to their ships. In underwater hangars beneath the Pacific, engines roared to life. All around the world, humanity was awakening. The quiet planet that the Council believed was broken was now alive with fury. In one corner of the room, Kale sat under guard. His expression was unreadable. When Rhea walked past him, he spoke softly. You can't win. The Council's armada outnumbers you 100 to 1. Rhea stopped and looked at him. You don't understand us, she said. We've never needed numbers. Just will. Kale frowned. Your will won't stop plasma fire. No, Rhea said quietly. But it can aim it. She walked away, leaving him in silence. Hours passed. Final preparations began. The human fleet was divided into 3 groups: the Vanguard, the Phantom Wing, and the Dawnfire Command. The Vanguard would strike first, hitting the Council's nearest outposts. The Phantom Wing would disrupt communications, and the command would coordinate the larger counterattack. Rhea stood before the massive window overlooking the ships being prepared for launch. Each vessel glowed with faint blue light, their engines pulsing like hearts ready to burst into motion. Marcus approached her, holding a small data chip. This contains the navigation paths for the strike, he said. If we're separated, these will lead you home. She took the chip and nodded. If we make it home. Marcus smiled faintly. You always say that like we won't. Because I've learned not to make promises I can't keep, she said softly. They stood together in silence, watching as technicians sealed the last hull plates and pilots climbed into their cockpits. Somewhere deep inside, Rhea felt fear, but it was wrapped in determination. She had seen too much loss to ever stop fighting. The Council might have numbers, but humanity had something stronger: memory, pain, and purpose. A voice over the intercom broke the silence. Fleet systems online. Awaiting launch order. Rhea turned to the officers behind her. Open the hangar doors. A low rumble shook the base as massive steel gates opened, revealing the cold blackness of space. Stars glittered beyond, and Earth hung like a blue jewel far below. The ships began to move, rising slowly, then faster, until they vanished into the darkness. Humanity's first counterattack had begun. Down below, on Earth, millions watched the sky as faint streaks of light crossed the night. They didn't know what was happening, but they felt it, a shift in the air, a sense of something unstoppable. Hope. In the command room, Rhea stared at the tactical display. How long until contact? She asked. 6 hours, replied the navigation officer. Marcus looked at her. This is it. Rhea nodded. Yes. The last meeting before the storm. She turned to the others. Remember this, we are not fighting for survival anymore. We are fighting for what was taken from us. Let the Council see what humanity becomes when pushed to the edge. As the fleet prepared to make its first jump, alarms suddenly flared on the control panels. Dr. Elara ran to the console. The Council just changed formation. They've detected something. They might know. Rhea clenched her fists. Then we're already late. Initiate jump. The countdown began. The lights in the chamber dimmed, and a deep vibration shook the entire base. Outside, one by one, the ships of the hidden armada vanished into streaks of light, bending space as they disappeared into the void. Silence followed. Rhea closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "Hold the line, wherever you are." The room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Then the communication officer looked up, his face pale. "Commander, new signal detected. It's coming from the Council fleet. They're sending a message." Rhea turned sharply. "Play it." The hologram flickered to life. A tall alien figure appeared, the same kind that had once demanded Earth's surrender. Its voice was cold and full of disdain. "You cannot escape judgment." The Council sees your defiance. There will be no peace, only silence. The image vanished. Rhea looked at the empty space where the hologram had been and said quietly, "Then let them hear our answer in fire." The ships of humanity were already gone, racing toward destiny. The Council expected surrender. What they would find instead was vengeance written across the stars. The human fleet tore through the blackness of space, leaving trails of blue fire in their wake. The silence of the void was broken by the hum of engines, the pulse of reactors, and the whispers of soldiers preparing for battle. Commander Rhea stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Dawnfire, her eyes fixed on the endless stretch of stars ahead. They had jumped into enemy territory, beyond the safety of Earth's shadow. The Council had no idea they were coming, not yet. The fleet drifted in stealth mode, every ship cloaked, every signal muted. Rhea could feel the tension in the air, the calm before the storm. On the holographic display before her, glowing red dots represented the Council's forward base, a ring of massive stations orbiting a dying star. It was their supply hub, the heart that fed the incoming invasion fleet. If humanity destroyed it, they could cripple the enemy's momentum. "Status report," she said quietly. The officer beside her replied, "All systems green. Vanguard and Phantom Wings are in position. We're ready to engage on your command." Rhea nodded slowly. Her fingers tightened around the rail. "Then let's begin." A few moments later, the void exploded. Human ships emerged from invisibility, their engines igniting like comets. The first volley of plasma fire streaked across the darkness, slamming into the nearest Council station. Metal burst into flames, fragments spinning off into the void. Alarms echoed across the alien network. They hadn't expected an attack, especially not from humans. Within seconds, the entire sector lit up with chaos. The Council fleet scrambled to respond, ships turning sharply, weapons activating. But it was too late. The humans had struck first. On the Dawnfire's bridge, Rhea watched the battle unfold like a storm. "Target their reactors," she ordered. "Cripple their power before they can organize." The vanguard wing obeyed, diving through the enemy's formation like hawks. Beams of light and plasma collided, painting the heavens with fire. Massive explosions rippled through space, turning the Council stations into debris fields. The Phantom Wing attacked next, using experimental jump drives to appear and vanish at random. Alien ships tried to lock on but failed. It was as if ghosts were striking them from every angle. Humanity's fury filled the skies. General Marcus commanded from his own ship, Iron Sky, coordinating the second assault wave. His voice came through the comms, steady and sharp. "We've broken their outer defenses. Moving on their main command node." "Understood," Rhea replied. "Stay sharp. They'll counter soon." And they did. From the far side of the star, the Council's reinforcements arrived. Sleek silver ships, larger and faster than anything humanity had built. The air crackled with energy as they formed into battle lines. The first blasts hit hard, shaking the human fleet. Two smaller frigates vanished in flames. Rhea gritted her teeth. "Redirect power to shields. Focus fire on their flanks." The human ships turned, moving in tight formation. Plasma bolts and missiles crossed space in blinding patterns. The battle became a dance of death, every second a gamble. The void burned with color, blue, red, gold. The star below flickered brighter, reflecting the chaos above it. "We can't hold this line for long," shouted the tactical officer. "Then make it count," Rhea replied. "Every second we buy slows their invasion." In the distance, one of the Council cruisers turned its main cannon toward Dawnfire. The weapon charged, glowing white-hot. Before it could fire, Iron Sky dove between them, taking the full blast. The explosion was blinding. When the light faded, Marcus's ship was gone. Rhea froze. Static filled the comms, then silence. Her hands trembled, but her voice did not. "All ships, continue the assault." Marcus didn't die for hesitation. Rage replaced fear. Humanity fought harder. Their ships moved faster, weaving through the enemy like arrows. They struck with precision, guided by fury and desperation. One by one, the Council's stations collapsed, their reactors imploding. But the cost was heavy. Dozens of human ships were gone. Thousands of lives lost in minutes. The bridge shook again. Sparks flew from the ceiling as another impact hit Dawnfire's hull. "Shields at 20%, the engineer yelled. "We can't take much more." "We're not leaving," Rhea said. "Not until it's done." Outside, the star's light grew brighter, flares erupting as its gravity pulled debris into its burning heart. Rhea saw it, the last enemy command node, still standing. "Target that station," she ordered. "Full power, no reserves." The ship's main cannon charged, humming like thunder. Firing in 3, 2, 1. A beam of pure energy lanced through the darkness, piercing the enemy station's core. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the explosion came, a blinding burst of light that washed over the battlefield. The shockwave pushed ships off course. The Council fleet faltered, its formation breaking. Humanity had done it. The supply hub was gone. But victory came at a cost too high to celebrate. Of the 100 ships that left the moon, less than half remained. Rhea watched the wreckage drift among the stars. Her heart was heavy. "Begin recovery operations," she said quietly. "Rescue whoever you can." As the survivors worked, a new signal appeared on the main screen. A transmission, encrypted, alien. The technician hesitated. "Commander, it's from the Council." Rhea frowned. "Play it." The hologram flickered, showing the face of a Council lord. His eyes were calm, cold. "Impressive," he said. "We did not expect this much resistance from your dying species. But your defiance ends here. You have awakened the Armada." The image vanished. Rhea felt the weight of those words. The Armada, the Council's full strength, 10,000 ships, an ocean of fire moving through space. Humanity had hurt them, but now the gods were coming. The fleet's morale wavered, but Rhea stood tall. "Let them come," she said softly. "We've already shown them what humanity can do." She turned to her crew. "Set course for Earth. We regroup, we rebuild, and when they arrive, we make them remember who we are." The ships turned toward home, engines burning bright against the darkness. Behind them, the remains of the Council outpost floated silently, a graveyard of shattered metal and light. The humans had won the battle, but the war was only beginning. Far away, beyond the edges of known space, the Council Armada stirred, thousands of ships awakening from silence. The heavens would soon burn again, and when they did, humanity would be ready. The silence of space never lasted long after war. When the Council Armada began its movement, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. Thousands of ships spread across the void in perfect formation, their engines glowing like suns. Each vessel was a fortress, each cannon a storm. The Council had unleashed its full wrath. No more negotiations, no more messages of peace or surrender. This was extermination. On Earth, the alarms echoed across every command center. From the lunar bases to the orbital defense rings, every radar picked up the same signal, an ocean of enemy ships heading straight toward the solar system. In the command bunker beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Commander Rhea stood before the main display. The map showed the enemy's advance, a red wave spreading toward home. Around her, the officers spoke quickly, passing reports, calculating arrival times. General Marcus's replacement, Admiral Vega, pointed to the readings. Estimated time until contact, 72 hours. The room fell silent. 3 days. That was all they had. Rhea took a deep breath. "What's the status of our fleet?" Vega replied, "Half operational. The rest are still undergoing repairs. We lost too many ships in the strike." "Then we fight with what we have," Rhea said firmly. "We knew they'd come. Now we make them bleed for every inch." Across the planet, preparations began. The moon's shipyards worked non-stop, patching hulls and refueling reactors. Engineers reactivated old orbital cannons, silent for decades. Civilians were moved underground, cities dimmed their lights, and the world braced for the storm. Yet in the middle of all this fear, something powerful stirred among the people. Unity. Every nation, every colony, every survivor stood under one banner now. There was no more division, no politics, no borders. Only one truth remained: humanity would stand together, or die together. Meanwhile, deep in the Council's flagship Eternal Dominion, the High Lord watched the battle maps with cold satisfaction. His voice echoed through the chamber. The humans have defied us long enough. Their courage is admirable, but it will not save them. Prepare the annihilation sequence. His commanders bowed and began the process. The Armada would not simply invade, they would cleanse the entire system. Rhea received the first sensor data as the enemy entered the outer edges of the solar system. Hundreds of scout drones vanished within minutes. The first defense satellites were destroyed before they could even send warnings. The Council's ships moved with terrifying precision. Rhea stood at the main console aboard the rebuilt Dawnfire, now leading what remained of the hidden Armada. Her face was calm, but her mind was racing. How do you fight an ocean? She thought. Then she looked at the screen and whispered to herself, you make it drown itself. She turned to her officers. Activate Operation Eclipse. Around her, the crew nodded. This was humanity's last, desperate plan. Massive generators hidden across the moon began to charge, glowing faintly blue. Beneath the oceans of Earth, deep-sea reactors came online. The atmosphere shimmered as fields of magnetic energy began to form, a planetary shield unlike anything the Council had ever faced. Let's give them a welcome, Rhea said. The first wave of the Armada arrived in Neptune's orbit. Dozens of alien dreadnoughts released swarms of fighters. The humans met them head-on. The battle was brutal and fast. Human frigates darted between the giants, hitting hard and vanishing. Missiles carved trails of light through the darkness. Plasma cannons from both sides turned space into a storm of color. Every explosion painted the void with fire. Reports came in constantly, ships destroyed, positions lost, but never retreat. Humanity fought like a cornered beast, refusing to yield. On the flagship Eternal Dominion, the High Lord watched in irritation. They fight without logic, he muttered. Every engagement costs them lives, yet they keep coming. His advisor, a tall figure with silver eyes, replied, They are emotional creatures, my lord. They fight not for survival but for vengeance. The High Lord's voice grew colder. Then let them have it. Deploy the planet breakers. Across the fleet, massive cylindrical weapons detached from the Council's warships. Each one was the size of a city, designed to pierce planetary shields and ignite worlds from within. When Rhea saw them appear on her display, her blood ran cold. They're going to destroy Earth. Can the shield hold? Vega asked through the comms. Not against that kind of power, Rhea answered. We have to intercept them before they fire. The human fleet turned and charged. Every ship pushed its engines beyond safe limits. Metal groaned, reactors screamed, but no one cared. They had one mission now: stop the planet breakers. The battle grew chaotic. Ships collided, fragments spun through the void, and space burned brighter than any sun. Rhea's voice echoed through every channel. This is for Earth. For those we lost. Do not let them pass. The Dawnfire cut through enemy lines, firing everything it had. Missiles tore into one of the planet breakers, splitting it open in a shower of light. Another one detonated as a human cruiser rammed it head-on, sacrificing itself to save millions below. But 3 more remained, charging their cores. On Earth, the ground shook as the sky lit up. The planetary shield flared, energy pulsing through the clouds. Rhea shouted, "Focus all fire on the remaining weapons." But before they could destroy the last one, a blinding beam lanced through the void, hitting the moon's surface. The explosion was massive. For a moment, the moon disappeared behind a wall of fire. Then silence. The light faded, and half the moon was gone. Craters turned into rivers of molten rock. The shockwave hit Earth's shield, shaking it to the limit. The crew on Dawnfire stared in horror. They hit the moon, someone whispered. Rhea's hands clenched into fists. We're not done yet. She turned to her helmsman. Bring us in closer. The ship dived through the wreckage, straight toward the last planet breaker. The alien weapon fired another blast, but Rhea's ship evaded it narrowly. Charge the railgun, she shouted. All power to the main cannon. The reactor core hummed louder and louder, shaking the entire vessel. Cannon ready, the officer yelled. Fire! The Dawnfire's railgun unleashed a bolt of energy so powerful it cracked space itself. It struck the final planet breaker dead center, piercing its heart. The weapon imploded, its energy folding inward until nothing remained but silence. The humans had stopped the destruction, but the cost was unimaginable. The moon burned, half of the fleet was gone, and the enemy still advanced. Rhea fell back into her chair, exhausted but unbroken. Status? She asked. The shield is holding, came the reply. Barely. Outside, the stars flickered red. The Council Armada was still coming. Rhea looked out the window toward the distant glow of Earth. We've stopped their fire, she whispered, but the storm isn't over. And far away, the High Lord smiled coldly. They fight well, he said. Good. Let them hope a little longer. Then we will end their light forever. The war was far from finished, and as the heavens burned, humanity prepared for the next, and possibly final, battle for its survival. The sky above Earth was no longer dark. It burned with streaks of light, warships, missiles, and fire drifting through the heavens. The Council Armada had reached orbit. The greatest battle in human history had begun. From the bridge of the Dawnfire, Commander Rhea watched as the enemy fleet filled the horizon like an iron storm. Thousands of ships surrounded Earth, their hulls glowing with alien symbols. The sight would have crushed anyone's spirit, but not hers. She stood tall, her voice calm but sharp. Target nearest formation. Don't wait for them to strike first. Her crew moved fast, their faces pale but determined. Outside, the human defense rings activated, massive orbital cannons spinning to life. Beams of blue light shot upward, slicing through the first wave of alien ships. Explosions rippled across space, but the enemy numbers didn't slow. Incoming fire, someone shouted. The next moment, the Dawnfire shook violently as plasma bolts hammered its shields. Sparks flew, alarms screamed. Rhea gripped the rail tightly. Stabilize power. Return fire. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. On every screen, humanity's defenders fought desperately. From the moon's remains, ships launched in squadrons. From Mars, railgun platforms opened fire. Even old satellites were repurposed into weapons. Every piece of technology humanity had built now served one purpose: survival. The Council Armada responded with terrifying precision. Their ships moved in synchronized waves, each attack coordinated by artificial minds. They cut through human defenses like knives through paper. But humans didn't fight with logic. They fought with fury. A single damaged frigate, Valor's Edge, rammed an enemy cruiser, detonating both ships in a blaze of light. A dying pilot's last transmission echoed through every channel, "For Earth." It reignited something inside them all. On the Council flagship Eternal Dominion, the High Lord watched with silent rage. "End this," he ordered. "Their courage is meaningless." His fleets obeyed, closing in from every direction. Massive cannons charged, preparing to unleash a storm that would tear the planet apart. Back on Dawnfire, Rhea saw it coming. "They're aligning for planetary bombardment," she shouted. "All units, break their formation. Use everything we have." Human ships scattered and charged into the enemy lines. It was chaos, glorious chaos. Missiles cut through formations, ships collided, explosions bloomed like stars dying. The heavens became a battlefield of pure destruction. We're losing ships fast, her officer warned. Then we fight faster, Rhea replied. She opened a private channel to Admiral Vega. Admiral, it's time. Vega's grim voice came through the static. Understood. Operation Stormfire. Hidden deep within Earth's orbit, thousands of drones began to awaken. They were silent weapons, dormant since the early days of the war. Now, they rose like a swarm of glowing sparks, locking onto the Council ships. Stormfire engaged, said the AI control unit. The drones accelerated to impossible speeds, turning into streaks of light. The first wave slammed into the enemy's front line, detonating on impact. Shockwaves rippled through the armada. Whole formations broke apart. Even the Council's advanced shields couldn't withstand such concentrated energy. On the flagship, the High Lord's comm began to crack. "What is this?" he hissed. His advisor replied, "Self-guided fusion drones. Old human tech." The High Lord clenched his fists. Impossible. They should not have that much power. But they did. Humanity had turned its desperation into a weapon. On Dawnfire, Rhea watched as pieces of the armada fell apart. "We're not done," she said. "Direct all ships to focus on the flagship. Cut off the head, and the beast dies." The remaining human fleet turned and charged. The Council ships tried to regroup, but their coordination was breaking down. Static filled their networks. Their command AI struggled to respond fast enough. In the middle of it all, Rhea's ship pushed through debris and fire, heading straight for the Eternal Dominion. The alien dreadnought was enormous, a floating mountain of metal and light. It dwarfed the Dawnfire, but Rhea didn't hesitate. "Lock on," she said. "Target their main reactor." Her gunner hesitated. "At this range, the blast will destroy us too." "Do it," she replied coldly. "If we fall, we take them with us." Before they could fire, the enemy ship opened its massive cannon. A beam of light tore across the void, grazing Dawnfire's hull. The bridge exploded in sparks. "Damage to engines," someone yelled. "We're losing power." Rhea stumbled but didn't fall. "Divert everything to weapons. Now." The ship's main gun charged again, shaking violently. "Ready!" came the shout. "Fire!" The Dawnfire's cannon roared, a blinding white beam striking the Eternal Dominion's midsection. The alien shield shattered, and for the first time, cracks spread across the flagship's surface. The explosion that followed was massive, but it wasn't enough to destroy it completely. "They're still alive," the engineer said. Rhea gritted her teeth. "Then we finish it the old way." She turned to her pilot. "Set collision course. Full speed." The crew went silent. No one argued. They all knew what it meant. "For humanity," she whispered. "For the fallen." The Dawnfire surged forward, engines burning brighter than ever. The Eternal Dominion tried to move, but it was too slow. Rhea's ship slammed into it head-on, tearing through its armor. The entire void lit up in a blinding explosion that shook space itself. For a moment, there was nothing, only silence. Then the alien flagship broke apart, fragments spinning into the void. Across the battlefield, the Council ships faltered. Their command link was gone. Confusion spread among their ranks. Humanity saw their chance. Admiral Vega's remaining fleet opened fire, wave after wave, tearing through the leaderless armada. One by one, the enemy ships exploded, until the stars were filled with debris and fading light. The war in orbit was over. Earth was scarred, its skies filled with burning wrecks, but it still stood. In the control room deep below the surface, Vega watched the final readings. His voice was quiet. "They did it." Around him, soldiers cheered and cried. "The armada has fallen." High above, the wreckage of the Dawnfire drifted silently. Among the debris floated Rhea's insignia, shining faintly in the starlight, a symbol of defiance that would live forever. Far away, in the ruins of the Council's outer colonies, surviving lords received the news. Their fleets were gone, their pride shattered. How could humans do this? One whispered. The eldest among them answered bitterly. Because they are what we feared most, creatures that rise when they should have fallen. Back on Earth, people stepped out from shelters for the first time in days. They looked up at the sky, at the fires fading into the dark. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was hope. Humanity had faced extinction and refused to surrender. The council had expected them to kneel. Instead, they watched their empire burn. The heavens were quiet again, and in that silence, a new promise was born. Humanity would rebuild, stronger than before. And if the stars ever threatened them again, they would be ready. The war was over, but the silence that followed was heavier than the battle itself. The skies above Earth were filled with wreckage, burning fragments of ships, drifting metal, and frozen bodies caught in the void. The stars that once inspired humanity now glowed dimly behind the scars of war. For the first time in generations, there were no enemy signals, no warnings, no commands to prepare for attack. Only stillness. Deep below the surface, in the global command bunker, Admiral Vega stood before a massive screen showing the aftermath. His face was tired, marked by sleepless nights and grief, but his eyes still burned with determination. Around him, officers whispered updates, numbers of survivors, lost ships, and damage reports, but he barely heard them. His mind was on the ones who never came back. Commander Rhea. The crew of the Dawnfire. The soldiers who gave everything so others could live. She did it, Vega said quietly to himself. She finished it. A moment later, the main screen flickered to life, showing the surface of the moon. Or what was left of it. Half of it had been turned into molten stone, but among the destruction, something glimmered, a beacon. The signal was weak, but unmistakably human. We're picking up a distress code, an officer said. Vega leaned forward. From who? It's Dawnfire. The room went silent. Impossible, Vega whispered. That ship was destroyed. The signal's faint, sir, but it's there. Vega didn't hesitate. Send a rescue team immediately. I don't care what it takes. Hours later, on the scarred surface of the moon, the search crews found it, a piece of the Dawnfire's hull lodged in the crater. The ship was beyond repair, but the emergency pod was intact. Inside, barely alive, lay Commander Rhea. Her suit was torn, oxygen almost gone, but she was breathing. When they brought her back to Earth, the medics worked tirelessly. 4 days, she drifted between life and death. Finally, one morning, she opened her eyes. The light was dim, but familiar. Admiral Vega stood beside her bed, a rare smile breaking his usual hard expression. You couldn't stay dead, could you? Rhea tried to speak, her voice weak. Did we win? Vega nodded. You didn't just win, Rhea. You changed everything. She closed her eyes for a moment, relief washing over her. Then it was worth it. Outside, the world was beginning to heal. The smoke that once covered the skies cleared slowly. People came out from shelters, children looked up at the stars without fear, and cities began to rebuild. News spread across every colony and outpost. Humanity survived. The Council Armada was gone. On Mars, miners stopped their work to cheer. On Luna's surviving bases, engineers raised flags from the ruins. Even the far colonies, long abandoned, sent messages of hope. Humanity, divided for centuries, was now one again. But victory came with questions. What now? What would they become after facing gods and surviving? Rhea stood at the edge of the recovery platform days later, looking at the stars. Her body was weak, wrapped in a recovery suit, but her spirit was stronger than ever. Vega joined her quietly. The Council worlds are silent, he said. Their fleets are gone, their colonies empty. We don't know how many survived. Do we send a message? Rhea asked. A warning. Vega shook his head. No. Not this time. We're done fighting. They'll come again one day, she said softly. Then we'll be ready, he replied. She nodded, her gaze still fixed on the night sky. We're different now. We've seen what's out there. We can't go back to being just survivors. We have to build something better. Vega smiled faintly. A new dawn, he said. And that's what they called it, the Dawn Initiative. It began with rebuilding, but soon became something greater. Humanity started reaching out, not just to recover but to expand, explore and understand. They sent ships beyond the ruined borders of the Council Empire, searching for knowledge, for allies, and for the truth of what lay beyond. Rhea became the symbol of this new era, not a soldier of vengeance, but a leader of renewal. She spoke to the people from the steps of the rebuilt United Earth Council. Her voice was clear and strong, echoing across the networks. We were broken, but we rose. We were hunted, but we endured. The stars thought they could end us, but now they will remember our name. We are humanity, and this is our dawn. Across the world, people listened in silence, tears in their eyes. For once, there was no fear in the stars, only hope. The old scars of war slowly became monuments of courage. The shattered remains of the Dawnfire were placed in orbit as a memorial, a shining reminder that even in destruction, there can be light. Years passed. New ships filled the skies, not with weapons, but with explorers and builders. Children grew up hearing stories of the war, not of loss, but of strength. And among them, the name Rhea became legend. She often visited the memorial on clear nights, watching the horizon. Sometimes she still saw the flashes in her dreams, the fire, the chaos, but they no longer haunted her. They reminded her of what it took to build peace. One night, as she stood beneath the quiet stars, Vega approached her again, older now, his hair white. "Do you ever think they'll return?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Maybe. But if they do, they'll find a very different Earth waiting for them." Vega chuckled. "A stronger one. A wiser one," she corrected. They stood together, watching the stars for a long time. Above them, in the blackness, humanity's new fleet glided silently. Sleek ships carrying explorers instead of soldiers, scientists instead of weapons. They were not hiding anymore. They were reaching for the heavens again, this time not with fear, but with purpose. Far beyond known space, on the edges of what was once the Council's domain, a faint signal pulsed in the dark. Something ancient and massive stirred, watching. But it did not attack. Not yet. The universe had changed. Humanity had proven that they were not a species to be conquered. They were a force to be reckoned with. And so, under the light of distant stars, the world turned quietly toward a new beginning. The age of surrender was gone. The age of vengeance had passed. What remained was the dawn of humanity, burning brighter than any war, rising from the ashes to light the heavens once more.